Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a really fascinating psychological paradox. We're diving into why some of the most highly competent, successful people out there often feel like complete frauds, and much more importantly, how we can systematically and permanently overcome those feelings. If you've ever felt like your success was just a total fluke, yeah, you're in exactly the right place. So let's kick things off with a pretty personal question. Have you ever landed a massive promotion, launched a successful business, or just completely aced a high-stakes project, but instead of celebrating, you're secretly panicking that someone's going to expose you as a fraud? You know that feeling, right? You look around the room and think, any minute now they're going to realize I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. It's an exhausting way to live, constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop, especially when all the objective evidence points straight to your success.
All right, let's look at section 1, the myth of confident success.
See, as a society, we tend to assume there's this direct, linear relationship between success and confidence. The assumption is basically that the higher you climb that corporate ladder, the more competent you become, and therefore, the more unshakable your confidence just naturally has to be. But honestly, the reality is often the exact opposite. Extreme objective competence is frequently paired with this heavy internalized self-doubt. You aren't lacking skills. What you're actually experiencing is a massive gap between your actual performance and your internal perception of that performance. Moving on to Section 2. What is imposter syndrome? The term itself was coined way back in 1978 by psychologists Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. Basically, imposter syndrome is this chronic, nagging belief that you're just getting by on luck, timing, or maybe some clever deception, rather than your actual, proven skill. Now, it's not an official psychiatric diagnosis, but it is a very real, heavily documented psychological pattern that acts as a roadblock for millions of professionals. It essentially blinds you to your very own resume.
So, how do you know if you're dealing with this? Well, you might be battling it right now if you constantly discount your own wins. Saying things like, oh, literally anyone could have done what I did, or chalking up a massive victory entirely to just being in the right place at the right time. Other red flags? An intense, paralyzing fear of making even a tiny mistake, an inability to accept a compliment without brushing it off as team effort or dumb luck. Or, and this is a big one, overworking yourself to the point of total burnout just to prove your baseline worth to your team. Which brings us to Section 3, the hidden executive struggle. Take a look at this data. This is pulled from 2025 academic research by Joel Katanko, published in the MUMA Business Review. It's a breakdown of imposter syndrome themes in academic literature. Notice those towering bars for self-doubt and fear of failure, and risk aversion and indecision? These recurring themes are staggeringly common when you look at literature focused specifically on senior leaders. People making million-dollar decisions are quietly struggling with the exact same self-doubt as an entry-level intern. The stakes are just exponentially higher. And here's the really crucial part. Imposter syndrome in the C-suite isn't just some personal quirk you can brush off. It manifests as a massive systemic organizational liability. Just look at how these symptoms translate into actual business costs. When a leader is risk-averse because they're terrified of being found out, the whole company misses crucial opportunities. When a leader micromanages because they don't trust anyone, including themselves, teams get deeply demoralized. Perfectionism morphs into this martyr behavior where the leader works themselves into the ground, modeling a toxic culture of executive burnout for everyone below them. It destroys psychological safety and brings performance to an absolute halt. Let's dig into where this comes from in Section 4, Root Causes of Self-Doubt. Experts over at Healing House Counseling point out that these feelings, they don't just appear out of thin air, right? They're usually sparked by specific triggers. First off, it often starts with rigid, unrealistic perfectionism, where anything short of absolutely flawless is viewed as a total failure. Second, it can stem from early family dynamics that put way too much emphasis on achievement over effort. Third, it almost always flares up during major life transitions, like stepping into a big executive promotion. Add in the toxic comparison fueled by social media, and finally, the intense pressure of navigating a corporate field where your identity is underrepresented. Boom, you've got a perfect storm for feeling like an imposter. Now for the best part. Section 5, Overcoming the Imposter Phenomenon. The great news is you can actually start breaking this cycle today with a few direct interventions. Step 1 is simply recognizing the pattern. When that negative thought pops up, literally pause and objectively ask yourself, okay, what actual evidence supports this fear? Step 2 is super practical. Create a literal success file.
Keep an email folder or a doc packed with positive feedback, past wins, and concrete metrics of your achievements. Review it whenever doubt creeps in. And step 3, you've got to actively stop attributing everything you do to luck. When you win, force yourself to write down the hard skills and the specific effort you used to make that victory happen. To really root this out, you also have to challenge your own impossible standards of perfection. Remind yourself that you can do a job well enough and still be incredibly effective. Next up, you have to drag these feelings out of the dark. Share what you're experiencing with a trusted mentor or a peer. Honestly, you're going to be shocked to find out how many of them feel the exact same way, which instantly shatters that sense of isolation. Finally, embrace a growth mindset. Shift your focus from seeking constant validation to viewing your whole career as a continuous journey of learning.
Now, from an organizational standpoint, leaving your leaders to silently battle this alone, that is a total recipe for disaster. The absolute best way to build a resilient, healthy leadership culture is to proactively normalize these conversations. Companies need to invest in targeted executive coaching and structured peer support systems. Because when organizations actually remove the stigma and foster genuine psychological safety, leaders can finally drop the exhausting facade of perfection and focus their energy on innovating and leading effectively.
I want to leave you with this powerful reframe from Healing House Counseling. Take this into your next big challenge, your next board meeting, or your next major life transition. Your mistakes are not proof of your incompetence. They are simply evidence that you are stretching and growing. Feeling uncertain does not mean you are unqualified. And most importantly, feeling like an imposter absolutely does not mean that you actually are one. So I'll leave you with this question. If you've managed to achieve this much while silently believing you're a fraud, what on earth could you accomplish, and what kind of leader could you become if you finally accepted that you actually belong in the room? Seriously, take a look at your success file this week. The evidence is waiting for you.